The golden watch had vanished. Panic spread through the grand house as drawers opened, cushions lifted, and whispers grew louder. Then, a chilling silence. Every gaze fell on Amelia, the quiet maid who had never once betrayed their trust. Her voice trembled. "I didn't take it." But it didn't matter. That night, under the pale streetlight, she walked away, accused, heartbroken, and utterly alone. Amelia was 53, with silver streaks in her dark hair and eyes that carried both kindness and fatigue. For years, she had worked as a maid in different homes, but none felt like home, until the Darrens. For the past 5 years, she had lived and worked in their elegant townhouse. Darren, a successful businessman, and Elizabeth, his graceful wife, trusted her completely. Their 7-year-old son Roger adored her bedtime stories and called her Nanny Amelia. She took pride in every small task, polishing silverware until it shone, folding linen with care, preparing Roger's favorite cookies. She didn't have much, but she had peace. Elizabeth would often smile and say, "Amelia, you're more than a maid. You're family." And Amelia believed her. In that bright, beautiful house, surrounded by warmth and laughter, she finally felt she belonged, not by blood but by love. She had no idea how quickly that love would vanish. For years, the Darren home had been a place of quiet rhythm and gentle laughter. The mornings smelled of coffee and freshly baked bread, the afternoons echoed with little Roger's footsteps running through the hallways. Amelia moved gracefully through her daily routine, cleaning, cooking, and caring, her presence like a steady heartbeat in the house. Elizabeth often said, "You make this home shine, Amelia," and Darren would nod in agreement, smiling over his newspaper. Among all of Elizabeth's treasures, one held special meaning: a delicate gold watch. It had belonged to her late mother and was said to bring good luck. Elizabeth polished it every night and placed it carefully on her dressing table before bed. Amelia always admired it from afar. To her, the watch wasn't just gold, it was a symbol of memory, of love, of something lasting. Their days passed peacefully. Roger often followed Amelia around, helping her dust or folding napkins just to earn her proud smile. "When I grow up, I'll take care of you, Nanny Amelia," he'd say, and her heart would soften every time. On quiet Sundays, when the family went out, Amelia stayed behind to tend the garden. She would trim the roses, hum old songs, and imagine a little tea room by the sea where people could come for warmth and kindness. Life felt safe, predictable, as if nothing could disturb its peace. Until one morning, Elizabeth's voice broke through the stillness. "My watch. It's gone, my gold watch." The house froze. Drawers were opened, cushions lifted, floors swept. Amelia searched every corner with trembling hands, desperate to help. But when the watch couldn't be found, the air turned cold. And for the first time, Elizabeth looked at Amelia not with trust, but with suspicion. Elizabeth's voice shook as she called out, "Amelia, have you seen my watch?" Amelia froze. She turned from the sink, her hands still wet. "No, ma'am," she said softly. "I haven't seen it. I would never touch your things." Elizabeth's eyes darted around the room, her voice rising with panic. "It was right here, on my dresser. I always leave it there." Mr. Darren entered, frowning. "Let's stay calm. Maybe it slipped behind something." They searched everywhere, drawers, rugs, under the bed, even the laundry basket. Nothing. The servants began whispering in corners, their glances sharp and uncomfortable. Amelia could feel their eyes on her, like invisible hands pushing her away. Roger stood in the doorway, confused. "Mommy, Amelia wouldn't take it," he said, his small voice trembling. But no one answered. After hours of searching, the house fell silent. Elizabeth stood by the window, her reflection pale against the glass. Finally, she turned and said in a quiet, tired voice, "Amelia, I trusted you." Amelia's heart cracked. "Please, ma'am, you can search my room. I have nothing to hide." And they did. Every drawer, every piece of clothing, even her small handbag was turned inside out. Nothing. But it didn't matter. The silence that followed spoke louder than proof. When the police arrived to make a report, Amelia felt as if the world had stopped moving. Her knees trembled. Her voice barely escaped her lips. "I didn't do it." Mr. Darren sighed and said gently, "Maybe, Maybe you should take some time off, Amelia. His words were polite, but distant, cold. As she packed her few belongings, Roger ran to her, his cheeks wet with tears. Amelia, don't go. You didn't do anything wrong. She knelt down, her voice breaking. I know, sweetheart. But sometimes, truth takes time to be seen. No one stopped her when she left. The big white house, once filled with warmth, now stood silent behind her, a place she had called home, now lost. That night, Amelia sat on a cold park bench beneath a flickering streetlight. The wind bit through her thin coat. She clutched her bag and whispered, I told the truth, but no one believed me. And for the first time in years, she had nowhere to go. Days turned into weeks, and the city no longer felt like the same place. Amelia wandered from one house to another, asking for work. At first, people were polite, but once they heard her name, their expressions changed. Oh, you're the maid who worked for the Darrens, right? They'd say quietly. I heard about the watch. And the door would close, softly but finally. Rumors traveled faster than truth. Within a month, Amelia's savings were gone. She sold her shoes for a few coins, then her shawl. When night came, she slept on park benches, wrapping herself in an old blanket she had found near the river. The nights were long and merciless. Sometimes she would sit beneath the streetlights, humming softly, the same tune she once sang while polishing silver in the Darrens' kitchen. The melody was all she had left of her old life. A kind baker nearby noticed her one morning, shivering outside the shop. He offered her a piece of bread. She thanked him with a trembling smile and said, I'll pay you back when I can. He simply nodded. Just promise you'll eat. Even in her despair, Amelia refused to beg. Every morning, she folded her blanket neatly, combed her hair in a store window and whispered, They can take my home, but not my honesty. Meanwhile, across town, Elizabeth sat awake at night, unable to sleep. The house no longer felt warm. Roger missed Amelia deeply. Mommy, when is she coming back? He'd ask. Elizabeth could only say, soon, though she didn't believe it. One quiet afternoon, while cleaning the living room, Elizabeth pushed the heavy sofa to sweep behind it. A soft metallic clink echoed on the floor. She froze. There, beneath the dust and shadows, lay the gold watch, untouched, shining faintly in the light. Her knees gave out. She picked it up with trembling hands. Tears blurred her vision. Oh, Amelia, she whispered. What have I done? The guilt burned through her chest. Without thinking, she threw on her coat, grabbed her umbrella, and rushed into the rain. The streets were dark and endless, but she kept calling into the night, her voice breaking with every step. Amelia, Amelia, where are you? She prayed the woman she had wronged was still out there, still alive, and still willing to listen. Rain poured gently over the park as Elizabeth walked quickly down the empty path, her coat clinging to her shoulders. Her heart pounded with every step. Then, under the dim glow of a street lamp, she saw her, Amelia, sitting alone on a wooden bench, wrapped in a thin, torn scarf. Amelia, Elizabeth called softly. Amelia turned, her tired eyes widening in disbelief. She rose slowly, unsure if what she saw was real. Elizabeth's hands trembled as she reached into her pocket and pulled out the gold watch. It gleamed faintly in the rain. It wasn't you, Elizabeth whispered. We found it behind the sofa. It was there all along. I was wrong. So terribly wrong. For a long moment, Amelia said nothing. The sound of the rain filled the silence between them. Then, in a calm, almost fragile voice, she said, I told you the truth, Mrs. Darren. But you didn't believe me. Elizabeth's eyes filled with tears. I know. I don't expect forgiveness. But please come back. Roger cries for you every night. We all miss you. Amelia looked down at the wet pavement, then at the glowing city lights in the distance. Her voice was soft, but firm. I forgive you truly. But I can't come back. That house. It no longer feels like home. Elizabeth lowered her head. You're a better woman than I deserve. For a long time, they stood in silence, two women connected by guilt and grace, by truth and the price of trust. When they finally parted, Amelia didn't look back. Her steps were slow, but steady. For the first time in weeks, her heart felt light. Not because she was proven innocent, but because she had found peace within herself. In the weeks that followed, Amelia's life slowly began to change. The cold park benches were replaced by warm mornings at a small neighborhood bakery. The shop, owned by a kind couple, Sophia and Andrew, smelled of fresh bread and hope. Sophia, a cheerful woman with flour always on her apron, greeted her warmly on the first day. "You must be Amelia. I've heard you're hard-working. Let's start fresh, shall we?" Those simple words touched Amelia's heart more deeply than she expected. Her job was modest, cleaning tables, sweeping floors, and helping with the dishes, but it came with respect. Sophia and Andrew treated her not as a maid, but as family. They shared meals, stories, and laughter. One morning, while Amelia was arranging loaves in the display window, Sophia said with a smile, "Amelia, you make this place feel warm." Amelia paused, her eyes softening. "It's been a long time since anyone said that to me." Day by day, she learned to bake, first simple rolls, then delicate cakes. She discovered joy in kneading dough, the scent of sugar and butter filling the air, the gentle rhythm of work healing her heart. One afternoon, as the golden sunlight poured through the window, Andrew approached her with a kind smile. "We've been thinking," he said. "There's a small room upstairs. It's not much, but if you'd like, you could stay here." Amelia blinked, her throat tight. I'd love that. Thank you." That night, as she lay in a clean bed for the first time in months, tears slipped silently down her cheeks, not from sadness but from peace. A few weeks later, a letter arrived with elegant handwriting. It was from Elizabeth. "Amelia," it read, "I think of you often. I will never forgive myself for what I did. Roger still keeps your picture by his bed. Please visit us one day, if your heart allows." Amelia held the letter close to her chest. Her heart no longer carried anger, only understanding. "Maybe one day," she whispered. And one day she did. Elizabeth met her at the garden gate, eyes red from tears but smiling with gratitude. Roger ran into her arms laughing. "I knew you'd come back, Nanny Amelia." They sat under the sun, sipping tea and talking softly. When Amelia left, Elizabeth thanked her again. Amelia smiled and said gently, "The past can't be changed, but forgiveness can make peace grow." That evening, as Amelia walked back to the bakery, the air felt light and warm. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like a servant. She felt free. The sun was setting as Amelia walked back through the quiet streets, the golden light spilling across the cobblestones, the same color as the watch that had once broken her heart. But now, that color no longer reminded her of loss. It reminded her of peace. When she opened the bakery door, Sophia looked up from the counter and smiled. "You're home," she said. Amelia paused for a moment. The word home echoed softly in her mind. She looked around, the smell of warm bread, the sound of laughter from customers, the gentle hum of the oven, and she realized she truly was home. She tied her apron and began wiping the counter, humming a familiar tune, the same melody she once sang in the Darren household. But now, it carried no sadness, only calm. As she worked, she thought about all that had happened, the false accusation, the nights in the cold, the pain of losing trust, and how it had led her here. Sometimes, she whispered to herself, losing something precious helps us find what really matters. She had learned that forgiveness was not weakness, but freedom. That truth may be doubted, but it never dies. And that kindness, once given, always finds its way back. Amelia looked out the window as the last light faded, and she smiled, not because life was perfect, but because her heart was finally at rest. Even when no one believes you, stay true to yourself. Honesty may be tested, but it always wins in the end. Would you forgive someone who accused you of something you didn't do? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more emotional English stories.